Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another podcast episode. My name is Alicia Gogan, the host of the Globe Seekers podcast, where I help you expand your mind and become more self aware so that you can glow up into the best version of yourself. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're watching on YouTube, Theo is up, and he is a lengthy boy. He's growing. He's 4 months now. Essentially, he's like 4 months. Okay, we're going with that. And it's been a ride. Look at those legs. Wow. Anyways, how are we doing? I hope everyone is well. The weather here in Toronto is really giving May. Like, we're really in spring. And this morning I went on a nice hawker walk. It was around like 9:30 in the morning. The sun was out. It was so warm. And it really felt like, you know what, we have made it, especially during the springtime with weather, depending on where you live, of course, but the weather's really hot and cold. Like one day it's kind of warm and the sun is coming out. Like we feel like we're awakening, but then we get colder days or gloomier days. Today felt like that day where it's like, actually, this is really spring and get used to these warm days consistently. Like, when you just know things have switched. It's like there is something energetically that happens in any new era of life. Like you can just feel it. And I also feel like that's what I'm also entering in my own life. Like I'm really stepping into this version of me that really goes and is living out their dream life by acknowledging that there's so much amazingness around me and I am actually living my dream life in many ways, but also really taking steps towards those big dreams and those goals that actually are low-key scary and that I've been talking about or I've been thinking about a lot, like those things that you kind of cast into, your future. But I'm really starting to move into that person now. And I honestly just kind of want to bring this message to you guys and hopefully hear back to see if you guys are in this era or, you're really ready to let things go and you're really wanting to shed the winter. And I think for me personally, the winter was the hardest winter that I'll probably have to go through in a very long time. Many of you guys know I lost my mom during like around Christmas time. So my entire winter was just dark. It was so heavy and it was just really about grieving. And even if you haven't gone through that this past winter, I'm sure there is maybe a feeling of heaviness that you might still be carrying and lingering and you're like itching to let go. And I think that this is what I really want my message to be, is like, you really do need to let that go and it's okay to let it go. And it is going to be required for you to let that go. And I feel like we deep down know that moving into this new season of life or moving into summer, a lot of us are thinking about those goals. And I feel like summer is just the time to tackle a lot of things, but it's like, we're really gonna have to part ways with that old version of us in order to enter a new version of us. And I remember maybe this time last year, actually, I don't exactly remember. I do know that it was springish summertime. And I had made a video where I was just talking about how like the next 6 months are for you and like it's time to lock in and really, think about what you want to be doing for the next 6 months. And realistically, we're kind of back in that same like date where, the next 6 months of your life, that will lead you to like October. It'll lead you to the fall time. And I really like to take this time and I don't even force it. It just happens naturally, especially when you come out of something as dark as I did throughout the winter. But naturally in springtime, I think it really calls you to get clear with the person you want to be and how you want to live your life and to live more intentionally and to really go for those things that you've been talking about or dreaming about, because like there's no other better time than now. And of course, starting something no matter what season of life you are in is so good. But I just think right now in life, like, do not ignore and do not sleep on yourself in your life right now, because this is such a good moment to really move, like really, really move out of that old version of you or the darkness or whatever you've been going through or caught up in. And I honestly think it takes a lot to get out of a cycle whether you want to be in that cycle or not, I get it. Like I get self-sabotage, I get addiction, I get all of those things. I've either lived it, I've been with parents, I've seen it around me. Like that's what I'm so interested in life, honestly. And it can really just be hard. Like there's some people who do not make it out. It's that hard. And those are both my parents. So like I understand the struggle of not being able to get out of your own way and get out of the old versions of you. But I'm just also, I guess, like saying this as like, hey, I'm doing it here with you. I'm trying my best. But it's really just reminding yourself that this is the time to do it. Let's not wait for any other time, because summer is also very magical. It's very motivating. There's more sun usually, depending on where you live. It feels like you have 2 days in one because, you know, it was getting dark at like 4 p.m. So it's like really try to push yourself a little bit further out of that old version of you that I know it's very difficult to do, but you can do it and step into this new version. Like step into the goals, like face the things that you need to face. I think for a lot of us, there's probably habits that we have been doing, and maybe they're not like crazy bad habits, but those are the things that might keep us in that old version of us, or maybe not allowing us to go out into the world or be the healthiest versions of ourselves. Like let's address that. Like let's really like lock in the sense of taking a really deep look. And sometimes it's like a messy look and a not cute look to have to look at the things that you have been doing and the ways that you've been sleeping on yourself in your life. And for good reason, I'm sure, but it kind of gets to the point where we sometimes drag out unhealthy behaviors that maybe we're using to cope, and it's gonna pour into our summer and pour into the next 6 months, which will not help us when the 6 months is up. Like, you know, it will not help us even enjoy summer and all of these things. And of course, it's not going to allow us to actually be that version of ourselves that we always dream about and we always talk about. So in my season of life, I'm really just trying to take a look at all the things that have been the same for a while. And I think for a lot of us, there's a lot of different categories in our lives where we can really sit and take a look at and be like, are these things aligning anymore? Whether it is your health and wellness habits, what you're doing on your free time, who you're hanging out with. And these things might not be super loud, but they may be hindering you in certain ways, or maybe you've just been ignoring some of these things, but really they are contributing to keeping you kind of the same way that you always are, which may be really sad or depressed or like mad at the world or complaining or whatever. Or maybe it's just like keeping small, you know, talking about your dreams and not really doing anything about it, and, you know, saying you're going to do one thing and doing another. Like these are the things that are going to need to change slowly if we want to become a new version of ourselves. And I think a really good time to change is when your external environment is requiring you to change. And this can simply just be weather. I think that's a healthy way of allowing your external environment to like shift you in a way. But also when your habits or the way that you think have been weighing on you a lot. And I think we do keep tabs on things that don't serve us, or habits that we do that we don't really want to be doing, or things that we need to accomplish that we're not. And I think this is a good time to also just be like super slow and soft and loving with yourself, and really focus on small wins like week after week. That is my like way of doing things right now, and what I plan on doing even throughout the entire summer, because slow and sustainable habits, actions, intentions, wins, whatever you want to call it, like all of that really does help you become that new version of you and sustain that new version of you. And also for you to really create a life that's actually intentional, and not a life where you feel really empty inside and then you kind of go back to old ways, because I think that can happen as well. It's like we set some goals or we do the things that we think that we should do, and then we're kind of back into these cycles again. And I do think sometimes it's because we aren't slowing down and really curating a life that feels right to us and feels aligned to us and feels just enjoyable. It's like we don't take a second to slow down and be like, okay, how do I want to live the next 6 months of my life that's different than the goals that I even set for myself back then, whether I achieved it or not. And a lot of the times you kind of set the same goals over and over and over again, or the same habits over and over and over again, but we're in the same environment, we do the same thing. So that is why I'm saying take this time, and this is what I'm doing, taking this time in this season of my life to really be slow and take a deep look at some of the things that are not serving me, but like allowing myself to take the time to really get out of these habits, mindset shifts, the ways that I'm operating, and really use this summer to transform. I think we are always talking about locking in and becoming a new version of ourselves and glowing up for summer, or, the next 6 months and yada, yada. But I think we underestimate how long things actually take. And I think probably because we just don't even want to think about the fact that, oh my gosh, it's going to take so long to change. But honestly, like, we need to take things so slow if we actually want to change and become a new version of ourselves. And it's just not going to be like overnight. And I think that's also beautiful though, because it almost like allows you to be okay with slowing down, because you understand the process of change takes time, and it also allows you to be in the present moment. So when I'm even saying 6 months, like, I am so excited for experiencing summer and the transition that I'm going to be having out of the old version of me that is still maybe even stuck from last year or from the winter. Like, I'm not moving into summer thinking like, oh my gosh, in like 1 month I need to be like super healed and perfectly fine, and like I need to like hit the ground running, and that's like my summer's gonna be good because I'm gonna be this new version of myself. It's like, no, like that new version of myself is going to be cultivated throughout the summer as I am focusing on small wins and getting out of my own way, and understand that these things will take time for me to unravel out of, like certain habits or the ways that you think. Like, things take time. And I'm saying that also because I think about when you're in a cycle of unhealthy eating, or, maybe you party or you drink or you smoke, whatever the case is, I think we do underestimate how long it can actually take to get out of these cycles, which again is not the best thing to want to hear when you're in these cycles. But I think that mindset needs to be adopted a little bit, because you're going to need to have a lot of grace and compassion with yourself as you're working yourself out of that old version of you. And there's going to be many, many, many times that you don't do it perfectly, and you really want to actually normalize that as much as you can. And I know sometimes you can get afraid of normalizing messing up, quote unquote, messing up, because it's like, well, then I'm always going to do this bad habit, but that's not necessarily the case. And the way that I look at it is, the more understanding that I am of myself, and the more time I give myself to change something or cultivate something and align to something, the quicker almost I get there, and the easier things feel in life, because there's not so much pressure or shame on myself for not doing things perfectly. And I get out of my own way more. I naturally want to move towards the things that are better for myself when I come at a place of grace, love, easiness, flow, choice, a lot of choice, things like that, versus like this dictatorship. And I feel like sometimes we can go into the dictatorship in the summertime, locking in, like, let me get on my health grind or better habits, and that's fine. But then I think sometimes we can fall back into those cycles again if we're not compassionate or loving with ourselves. And I think when you slow down with anything in your life, you will also be able to pull wisdom that you wouldn't be able to see if you're going so fast. And that wisdom, a lot of that wisdom is the key that you need to really get out of a cycle. It really is. So I'm summing all of that up to say, if you are really wanting to be in this process of change, or you feel some sort of change coming along, definitely go into that direction. Obviously, it is time, but just be slow and be awake to the process. And I found a Pinterest quote that I really liked, and I actually did post it on the community tab, but it says, "The nature of trauma is that we are always in a hurry. The idea of having not enough time and not enough space is a trauma response." And this is from Thomas Hübl. His work is really good. in the world of trauma healing. I would definitely check his stuff out. Very deep stuff, but he is transforming the world in many ways, along with a lot of other people. But I think I can see this within myself, wanting to rush, and I'm impatient and I want things to come now in any aspect of my life, whether it's realizing I want to change something about my health, the way that I'm eating, my habits, exercise, the way that I am in my relationship, or friendships that need to be rebuilt or connected more, whatever it is. Life, like all of these goals, these big goals that I've been wanting to accomplish. My intention in this season of my life is to just take these things slow, but really commit to them. And when I think about committing to something, in my mind, there isn't really necessarily an end. Of course, maybe there is an end if you're committing to, a soccer league or something for a short period of time, for sure. But when we're talking about committing in this sense, it can be to yourself, right? To your health and to your mental health and to whatever, like your career, your success, everything, who you are authentically. And that commitment should be a forever commitment. And I think when I feel into what the word commitment actually really means is groundedness, consistency, and there's an essence of actually something slow about that. So when we're looking at things that we want to change in our lives or the person that we want to become, committing, it should really be about week after week showing up and really taking in those small wins and being slow and graceful with yourself and loving with yourself and understanding that the imperfect days, those are normal, normalizing those things and not going so high and so low on this roller coaster, committing and kind of coasting in a way. And that's a really good foundation for that dream version of you anyway. Now, I found another Pinterest quote and it says, for a dysregulated or unsettled nervous system, intensity, urgency, and pressure will not lead to progress or integration. If you want consistent progress, seek ease, gentleness, less intensity, less catharsis, and less big release. Yes, the process is small or very small, but there's steady progress. This is safety. And I think deep down, a lot of the goals that we're trying to accomplish, it's all rooted back to feeling safe and feeling happy and being able to express and live a life that feels very fulfilling. And it's not to say external things can't create that for us, of course, but we can create a lot of that safety within ourselves. And what we're actually dying to feel within our nervous systems is that safety by simply slowing things down, working slower and at a steady pace, even towards the things that we're trying to accomplish. Because then what will happen is we get more aligned. When we are more calm, we don't go so full force at something we think that we need or it must be this way. And when we slow things down and we recognize what we actually need or what feels good to us, we kind of go in more alignment of what, in my personal opinion, what we're here to do or be. And also we seek really healthy things, the way we live our lives, the people we bring into our lives. But sometimes when we're going so quickly, when we're dysregulated, we're choosing people, places, and things, goals that aren't even aligned to us. We're burning ourselves out. We're doing all of these things because we haven't slowed it down. And we're wanting these things because we think that these are the things that are going to create safety within us, but realistically they are not. And it keeps us in a cycle in a way. So it's really about first slowing down. I guess is what I'm saying, is slowing down, giving yourself grace, understanding that not every single week when you have certain goals, you will be perfect at these things. And when you quote unquote mess up, it's a part of the process. Instead of getting mad at yourself, think about what triggered me to do this habit that doesn't serve me anymore. What was the thing? Was I bored? Was I triggered? Was I feeling overwhelmed? And how can I support myself in those areas instead of just get mad at myself for doing a certain habit? And how can I course correct a little tiny bit, even if it's a micro step? And next week, I'm going to do one little thing that pertains to changing this habit. And that's it, which means you still might be doing that habit here and there, but you've taken one small step and eventually you're going to get out of that habit eventually. It doesn't just happen overnight. Some of these things that we don't want to be doing because we've been relying on them for so long. And the habit that I'm talking about could simply just be you never even taking action towards all of those goals or all those things that you keep saying that you want to do. So just remember that everything counts. And I talked about this on my main channel YouTube video. I was talking about how to love yourself, especially if you're a perfectionist, which I can link down below. But I was saying how, you know, even having a journal practice in the morning of writing one thing that you are proud of yourself of from the previous day, or if you want to do this at night, however you want to do it, but just writing one thing every single day and having that as a habit. I know it sounds like so small, like it's not going to do anything, but sometimes we don't even do that. And having a list of 30 things, you really sat down and you said, you know what, I did this one thing yesterday. And if you start training your brain to think about just being happy about that one thing, you will feel so much better. But I feel like we're so bombarded with, no, we have to do 100 things, or we see everyone else do a million things, that even the one thing that we do is so not enough. Like, it's so out of our radar. But I think we just need to come back to reality. I think that we are so just bombarded, like I said, the social media and like, you know, burnout culture and productivity and all these things, that we just need to come back to the basics, and we need to slow it down, and we need to do baby steps, and we need to look at the things that we have accomplished and say, you know what, at least I did this one thing. At least I made one small step towards this big goal that I want to accomplish for my business or for whatever the case is. And that is good enough. And the more times that you acknowledge, and you say, that is good enough, you will start to see yourself make more progress, which is what we want in the first place. But then we're so mad at ourselves when we're not making these big steps. And it's like, babe, you haven't even taken the small steps because you don't even want to acknowledge that you've taken any steps at all. We're making our lives way too difficult. We're making our lives so much more harder, to feel harder. We're chasing like the hardness of life, and we need to let that go. That is just not the way we need to live. We believe we need to live like that. Trauma responses push us into, you know, chasing that. I get it. But let's just let that go as much as we can this season, is what I'm saying. And that's basically what I'm saying. Like, I'm really, really trying to let go of the hardness of life and the uphill battle that I've constantly believed that I need to be putting myself on in order to experience life. It doesn't need to be like that, but it's going to be up to us to kind of work through those patterns. And how do we do that? We do it slowly. Every day, week after week, take your time with things. I'm going to be taking my time with things and focusing on the things that I am accomplishing, and, you know, getting that shame and those, you know, those voices in my head, you know, nitpicking at all the things that I'm not doing. I'm not interested. I'm only interested in the things that I am doing well. And that's a lot. And it's a lot for you guys as well. And it could literally be, if nothing else, it could be the fact that you listen to this podcast today because you are committed to working on yourself, or you have that drive or that urge, and you want to hear something good in your ears. You want to get out of your own way, and you're doing it. This is the process. The process is not a different process that you think that the process would be. Literally is this. The process is you messing up again. That's a process. So anytime you want to tell yourself, oh my gosh, I'm not in the process, I messed up again. No. It's all a part of the process. Look at it like that, and you will start to see that you change a lot more by accepting a lot of what already is, because that's life. That is life. So anyways, I did not have this episode planned in terms of like the topic or what I was really going to talk about, but hopefully everything that I said in this episode either resonated, you felt something, it helped in some way. Please let me know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, or you can leave a comment on Spotify if you're listening on Spotify. I'm happy that we are in a new season, and I can't wait for more episodes to come. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, morning, night, whatever, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.